up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Visual Learners Podcasts. It's your host, Anya. Today, we're tackling a topic that's been making headlines and hitting close to home for a lot of people. Tech layoffs. FAANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and others are letting people go left and right. What's going on? Yeah, seriously, you'd think with these companies making billions in profit, they wouldn't have to do all these layoffs. But it's happening. So today, we're breaking it down. Why are these layoffs happening? What it means for the tech industry, and what young people, especially those of you eyeing tech careers, should think about all this. And, spoiler alert, it's not just about saving money. There's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes. So, stick around. We're going deep on this one.
Tech layoffs, huh? It's kind of wild how they're happening alongside, a pretty decent economy. Like, what's the deal with that? Throws you for a loop a little, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a head scratcher.
So that's exactly what we're going to dig into today, tech layoffs. Why they're happening, what it means for, the whole industry.
Yeah.
And how it all connects to things like, maybe AI and what investors are looking for these days.
Right.
For this deep dive, we've got two main sources we're looking at. There's this podcast episode, kind of geared towards, young professionals, and then this CNBC video that gives, the bigger economic picture.
It's interesting how, this whole thing is playing out, right? A strong economy overall, but then you've got these big layoffs, especially in tech.
Yeah, it's like they're marching to the beat of a different drummer or something. Both our sources kind of pointed to the pandemic hiring spree as, a big piece of this puzzle. Remember how Amazon was going crazy, expanding all their warehouse stuff and delivery as, online shopping went through the roof?
Yeah. And then there was Meta, diving headfirst into the whole metaverse thing. And interest rates were super low back then, so companies had, easy access to cash.
Right.
Which, fueled all this rapid growth and hiring. But, and this is something the CNBC video really highlighted, that growth in headcount didn't always mean more profits in the long run.
Okay.
So now with interest rates going up and investors wanting to see results, these companies are feeling the heat to, tighten their belts a bit, trim the fat.
It's like realizing you went a little too hard at the buffet, huh?
Exactly. And it's not just about going back to how things were before the pandemic. There's a fundamental shift happening in what tech companies care about most.
Interesting.
The podcast we listened to talked about how AI and automation are the hot new things, and companies are scrambling to reposition themselves.
Yeah, that makes me think of Meta shifting gears from the metaverse to this whole AGI thing.
Artificial general intelligence.
Right, AGI. They even talk about it on their earning calls now. But isn't AI supposed to create jobs too?
Right.
It's kind of a mixed message, don't you think? Come work in the exciting world of AI. Oh, and by the way, you might get replaced by AI.
It's definitely one of those things where it's not so black and white. It reflects a lot of the, anxieties people have about AI and the future of work. Some jobs will for sure be automated, That's happening. Yeah. But at the same time, the demand for AI skills is going through the roof.
Whoa, really? Oh, yeah.
The CNBC video mentioned this report from Indeed. They found a 500% increase in AI job postings.
Wow.
And get this, a 6,000% increase in job seekers searching for AI stuff.
Seriously? 6,000?
That's what they said. So it's less about, AI being the bad guy here and more about the types of skills that are in demand are changing, really fast.
So is it kind of like back in the day when everyone was learning to code? Some jobs went away, but then a ton of new ones popped up that didn't even exist before.
That's a great way to put it. The big takeaway being able to adapt.
Adapt, yeah.
Learning to code was huge then, and now it's about getting those skills that are relevant to AI and automation. That's how you're going to navigate this, constantly changing job market.
It's true. Being adaptable is huge. But it's also, kind of hard to wrap your head around all this talk of stocks and AI when it's real people losing their jobs,
Oh, absolutely. It's easy to forget that behind every layoff number, there's a person with a story.
Right.
Remember that woman from the CNBC video, Brittany Peach? Her video went viral, right? The one where she shared about being laid off after a Zoom meeting.
I saw that.
It's her story really put a face on these layoffs, Show the human cost of it all.
It did. And it seemed like it really resonated with people. It's even when it's happening online, it can still feel really impersonal. And after she shared her experience, it seemed like a lot of other tech workers started opening up too, sharing their own stories on social media.
It's interesting, right? It's like there's this shift happening where people are maybe less likely to blame themselves and more likely to question the companies and the people making these decisions.
So instead of what did I do wrong,
Yeah,
it's more like, why is the company doing this?
exactly.
But then you've got companies like Meta, right? They lay off thousands of people and their stock price goes through the roof. I think the CNBC video said something like over 194% in 2023 alone. It's kind of hard to understand how that works.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but it shows how investors are looking at things differently now. It's less about just growing as fast as possible and more about like actual results.
Results, okay.
Profitability, efficiency, proving you can make money in a sustainable way.
So it's less about being the most popular kid in school and more about showing you can like actually run a successful business over time.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where someone like Elon Musk comes in. Remember when he took over Twitter?
How could anyone forget?
Right. All those changes, the way he did things so publicly, it was hard to miss.
Totally.
And the CNBC video highlighted how like his whole approach is about focusing on efficiency and profitability.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether you agree with how he does things or not, his actions at Twitter sent a pretty clear message: financial sustainability matters.
So like, where does all this leave someone who's, interested in a tech career or someone who's already in tech trying to build a career? Are we all like going to be out of a job soon? Is coding going to be like knowing Morse code or something?
I don't know about all that. It's definitely not like the end of tech careers as we know it.
Okay.
Both the podcast and that CNBC video, they both made it clear that, yeah, some jobs are going away. Right.
But there are new ones popping up all the time and really fast. It's more like things are shifting around, not disappearing.
So less tech is doomed, more tech is changing. Exactly. But I mean, what does all this change actually look like for someone who's, trying to figure out this whole new world of work?
Right.
We'll think about things like cybersecurity, right?
Yeah.
Or cloud computing. AI development, obviously. The podcast even talked about some really specialized stuff like quantum computing.
Yeah, that's way over my head.
Mine too, a little bit. But the point is, those are the fields where the jobs are, and they're only going to get bigger.
Okay.
But, and this is important, you need specific skills for those jobs, and you got to be willing to keep learning and adapting as things change, which, let's face it, they always do in tech.
So it's like, you got to stay ahead of the curve. Be like a lifelong student of the tech world.
Exactly. The podcast called it future-proofing your career. I like that.
Future-proofing.
Yeah.
Catchy.
Right. They were comparing it to, like, the Industrial Revolution. Sure, some jobs went away then, but a whole bunch of new industries were born out of that.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Okay, so it's not the tech apocalypse, just tech, like, evolving.
Yeah.
But here's something I've been wondering about. If even these huge companies like Google and Meta are feeling the pressure, does that mean, like, the whole economy could be headed for a downturn? Could these tech layoffs like trickle down to other industries?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The CNBC video did say that for now, the overall job market is still doing okay. Even if other sectors are seeing some layoffs, it's not like widespread panic or anything. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Makes sense.
The economy is a complicated system. Changes in one area can definitely have a ripple effect.
True. Well, I guess we don't have a crystal ball, but it's probably a good idea to stay informed, right? And maybe brush up on those coding skills or like check out some of those emerging fields we were talking about.
Absolutely.
We've covered a lot today, from like the whole pandemic hiring spree to AI freaking everyone out to what investors are looking for these days. It's a lot. So for our listeners who are, trying to make sense of it all, what are like the biggest takeaways you want them to remember?
I think the most important thing is to remember that the tech world is always changing. Always. So be adaptable, make learning new things a priority, and don't be scared to explore new opportunities when you see them.
Solid advice. The tech world might feel a little shaky right now.
Yeah.
But if we stay flexible and informed, we can roll with the punches and maybe even find some awesome new opportunities along the way.
I like that.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into, tech layoffs. It's been real. And until next time, stay curious out there.